Welcome back to Globewise TV, the place where cinema isn't just watched, it's experienced. Today, we're diving into something truly special. YouTube just added 12 brilliant mind-bending movies, a collection of films that will twist your thoughts, challenge your perception, and leave you questioning reality long after the credits roll. From shocking plot twists to reality-breaking stories, these movies are not just entertainment, they're mental puzzles waiting to be solved. But before we unlock this cinematic rabbit hole, make sure you're part of our community. If you haven't subscribed to Globewise TV yet, hit that subscribe button right now and join us on this journey through the most fascinating corners of film history. And don't forget, we want to hear from you. Which movie blew your mind the most? Tell us in the comment box below. Now, sit back, open your mind, because things are about to get brilliantly confusing. 12. Captive State. When freedom becomes the ultimate illusion. What if the world didn't end with an alien invasion, but instead, it quietly continued under new management? That's the unsettling premise of Captive State, a gripping, slow-burn sci-fi thriller that flips the usual invasion story on its head. Instead of explosions and chaos, Earth has already lost. Aliens arrived, governments surrendered, and now humanity lives under strict surveillance in a tightly controlled society. At first glance, everything seems normal. Cities function. People go to work. Life goes on. But beneath that illusion lies a chilling truth. Freedom has been traded for survival. The story follows Gabriel, a young man caught between two worlds, one of obedience and one of rebellion. As he gets pulled deeper into an underground resistance movement, the lines between loyalty, betrayal, and truth begin to blur. Who's really in control? And more importantly, who's watching? What makes Captive State truly mind-bending isn't flashy action. It's the creeping paranoia. The film forces you to question everything. Are the collaborators traitors or realists? Is resistance heroic or hopeless? And if you were living in that world, what would you choose? With its tense atmosphere, layered storytelling, and powerful themes of control, surveillance, and sacrifice, this film hits differently in today's world. It's not just science fiction, it feels eerily possible. By the time the credits roll, one question will stay with you. If freedom comes at the cost of everything, is it still worth fighting for? 11. Fracture, 2007. When genius becomes a weapon. Imagine committing the perfect crime and then waiting to be caught. That's exactly what Fracture delivers. A chilling game of intellect where every move is calculated and every truth is fractured. The story follows Ted Crawford, played brilliantly by Anthony Hopkins, a man whose calm demeanor hides a razor-sharp mind. After shooting his unfaithful wife, he doesn't run. He doesn't panic. Instead, he confesses, but only just enough to start a twisted game. Enter Willie Beecham, portrayed by Ryan Gosling, a young, confident prosecutor who thinks this is an easy win. A quick case before moving on to a high-paying private career. But this isn't just another case. This is a trap. As the courtroom battle unfolds, what seemed like an open-and-shut confession turns into a maze of manipulation. Evidence disappears. Logic collapses. And suddenly, the hunter becomes the hunted. Every scene tightens the tension, every line of dialogue feels like a chess move, and you'll find yourself questioning what's real and what's carefully constructed illusion. Because Fracture doesn't rely on action, it plays with your expectations. It shows how intelligence, patience, and precision can distort justice itself. And just when you think you've figured it out, it flips the board. 10. Lone Star, 1996. The mystery that buries its secrets in time. In a quiet border town where the Texas heat feels like it can melt truth itself, Lone Star doesn't just tell a story, it slowly uncovers a buried history that refuses to stay dead. At first glance, it feels like a simple crime drama. A skeleton is discovered in the desert. A decades-old murder case suddenly reopens. Sheriff Sam Deeds begins investigating, expecting routine answers, but what he finds instead is a twisted chain of memories, lies, and half-truths that stretch across generations. But here's where Lone Star becomes truly mind-bending. Every conversation feels like a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit, until it suddenly does. One revelation quietly rewrites everything you thought you understood. A respected hero may not be a hero at all. A forgotten villain may have been misunderstood. And the closer Sam gets to the truth, the more he realizes that history isn't written in facts, it's written in stories people choose to believe. The brilliance of Lone Star lies in its structure. It doesn't rely on flashy twists or action-packed sequences. Instead, it builds tension through dialogue, silence, and memory itself, turning the past into a living, breathing mystery that constantly shifts shape. By the final act, the film delivers a powerful emotional shock, not just solving a crime, but exposing how entire communities are built on selective memory, hidden guilt, and long-buried secrets that still shape the present. This is not just a movie, it's a slow-burning revelation. And that's exactly why Lone Star deserves its place among the most brilliant mind-bending films now discovered by new audiences on YouTube. Because once you finish it, you don't just think about who did it. You start asking, how many truths are still buried in the stories we tell ourselves? 9. Enemy, 2013. When your worst fear is yourself. In a city drenched in dull light and quiet unease, a history professor drifts through life like a man disconnected from his own reality. His days are predictable, almost numb, until one ordinary moment changes everything. While watching a movie recommended by a colleague, he notices something that makes his blood run cold. A background actor looks exactly like him. Same face, same voice, same existence, yet living a completely different life. What begins as curiosity quickly mutates into obsession. He starts digging deeper, only to discover that this other him is not just a coincidence, but a living, breathing mirror of everything he is not. A confident version. A darker version. A version that might be taking over his life piece by piece. As their paths begin to cross, reality itself starts to fracture. Dreams feel real. Reality feels staged. And the line between identity and illusion begins to collapse. Soon, the question is no longer who is the enemy, but which one of them is real? Directed with haunting precision, Enemy is not just a film, it's a psychological maze that drags you deep into paranoia, symbolism, and unsettling truth. Every scene hides a clue. Every detail has meaning. And the final moments will leave you questioning your own perception of identity long after the screen goes dark. Because sometimes, the most dangerous enemy isn't out there. It's you. 8. Shutter Island. The island where nothing is what it seems. You press play thinking you're about to watch just another psychological thriller. A missing patient. A remote asylum. 2 federal marshals investigating a strange disappearance. But within minutes, Shutter Island pulls you into a world where reality feels unstable, like the ground beneath your mind is quietly shifting. Set in 1954, the story follows U.S. Marshal Teddy Daniels, who arrives at the isolated Ashcliff Hospital for the criminally insane. What seems like a routine case quickly turns into something far darker. Patients whisper hidden messages. Doctors act too calm, too controlled. And every answer Teddy finds only creates more disturbing questions. Then comes the storm. Cut off from the mainland, trapped on an island surrounded by crashing waves and locked gates, Teddy begins to suspect a massive conspiracy. Secret experiments. Disappearing patients. A truth the staff is desperately hiding. But here's where Shutter Island becomes unforgettable. The deeper Teddy digs, the more his own mind begins to fracture. Memories he trusts start to collapse. Faces shift in meaning. And the line between investigator and patient slowly disappears. By the time the final twist hits, viewers are left stunned, forced to question everything they just watched. Nothing is stable. Nothing is fully real. And every clue you thought mattered suddenly changes meaning. That's why Shutter Island isn't just a movie, It's an experience that rewires your interpretation as you watch it. It's the kind of film you finish, then immediately rewind, just to see how you missed it all. A true mind-bender that turns perception itself into the mystery. 7. What dreams may come. A love that defies heaven and hell. What if death wasn't the end, but just the beginning of a journey so surreal, so breathtaking, and so terrifying that even heaven itself could break your heart? In What Dreams May Come, we enter a world where love doesn't fade with time. It transcends reality. The story follows a devoted husband who, after a tragic accident, finds himself in a heavenly afterlife shaped entirely by imagination, memory, and emotion. Every landscape he sees is painted with the colors of his soul, literally. At first, this afterlife feels like paradise. A world so beautiful it seems impossible. Skies ripple like painted oceans, rivers glow with impossible light, and every moment feels like peace reborn. But beneath this beauty lies a painful truth. Heaven is fragile when love is incomplete. When tragedy strikes his family again, everything collapses. His wife, unable to bear the crushing weight of grief, descends into a darker realm of existence, one shaped by despair and loss. And this is where the film transforms from a visual masterpiece into an emotional battlefield. What follows is not just a journey through heaven and hell, but a journey through love itself. Because in this world, love is powerful enough to build paradise, but also strong enough to shatter it. Our protagonist makes an impossible decision, to risk eternal peace and descend into darkness itself, facing horrors beyond imagination, just for one reason: he refuses to lose her. Not in life. Not in death. Not in any universe that exists. Visually, the film is a dreamlike painting that constantly shifts between wonder and nightmare. But emotionally, it hits even deeper. It asks a haunting question. How far would you go for someone you love, even after the world has ended? In the end, What Dreams May Come isn't just a movie. It's a poetic experience about grief, hope, and the unbreakable bond between two souls destined to find each other, no matter how many worlds stand in their way. A story that reminds us, love doesn't end with death, it only changes form. 6. Frequency, 2000. When time calls back. What if the past wasn't truly gone, but just waiting for the right signal to reach you? That's the chilling, emotional mystery at the heart of Frequency, a film that doesn't rely on explosions or futuristic tech overload, but instead hooks you with something far more powerful: a father and son connected across time through a simple radio. It all begins in New York City, where a young detective, John Sullivan, is still haunted by the memory of his father, Frank, a heroic firefighter who died tragically in a warehouse fire 3 decades earlier. Life has moved on, but the wound never fully healed. Until one stormy night changes everything. John discovers an old ham radio in his father's belongings. Out of curiosity, he powers it up and hears a voice. At first, it feels impossible. A broken signal. A ghost in the static. But then reality bends in a way that defies logic. He is speaking to Frank in the past. Even more shocking? Frank is alive in 1969. What follows is not just science fiction. It becomes an emotional race against time itself. Father and son, separated by 30 years, begin communicating through radio signals during rare atmospheric conditions. At first, it's wonder. Then it turns into danger. Because when John warns Frank about the fire that will eventually kill him, he doesn't just change the past. He shatters the present. Suddenly, the timeline shifts like broken glass. Lives are rewritten. A serial killer who was once caught is now free. Relationships that once existed are gone. The world John knows begins to disappear piece by piece. And now the question becomes terrifyingly simple. If you could save someone you love, but risk erasing everything you know, would you still do it? As father and son work together across time to correct the damage, Frequency transforms into a gripping emotional thriller, blending crime investigation, sci-fi paradoxes, and heartbreaking family drama. Every radio transmission becomes a lifeline. Every decision echoes across decades. The brilliance of the film isn't just its time-bending concept, it's the emotional weight behind it. It's not about changing history for power or fame, it's about a son getting one more chance to talk to his father, and a father trying desperately to protect a future he can't even see. And when the final moments arrive, the story delivers a twist that hits harder than any shock ending. It reminds us that some connections are stronger than time itself. Frequency isn't just a movie you watch. It's a movie you feel long after the signal fades. 5. The Reaping, 2007. When faith turns into fear. Imagine a place where miracles don't feel like blessings, but warnings. In the heart of a quiet Louisiana town, former missionary Catherine Winter has built her life on logic. She used to believe in divine miracles, until tragedy shattered her faith completely. Now, she travels the world exposing so-called holy events as nothing more than natural disasters disguised as religion. But everything changes when she is called to investigate a small, forgotten town where something impossible is happening. A river turns to blood. Frogs fall from the sky. Locusts devour entire fields overnight. And then, the child dies in a way no science can explain. This is where the story of the reaping becomes something far more disturbing than a typical thriller. At first, Catherine believes it's all a carefully staged hoax. A psychological manipulation. A mass hallucination driven by fear and superstition. But the deeper she investigates, the more reality begins to collapse around her certainty. Every answer she finds creates two more terrifying questions. Because these aren't random events. They mirror the biblical plagues of Egypt, one by one. And the town's secrets go deeper than religion, deeper than science, deeper than belief itself. As tension rises, Catherine realizes she isn't just investigating miracles. She might be standing in the middle of something that is choosing its victims. Something that doesn't care what you believe. Something that only cares that you are there. The film slowly transforms from a mystery into a psychological nightmare, where logic and faith collide, and neither side feels safe anymore. And just when you think you've figured it out, the truth hits harder than any plague. Because in the reaping, the real horror isn't what's happening in the town. It's what might be happening inside belief itself. For the dead zone, the future you can't escape. Imagine waking up from a coma and realizing the world you knew no longer exists in the same way. That's exactly where the dead zone begins. A chilling descent into fate, fear, and a power no human was ever meant to carry. After a tragic car accident, Johnny Smith opens his eyes to a world that feels familiar, yet completely broken. Years of his life have vanished. The woman he loved has moved on. His future is gone before it even began. But then comes the real nightmare. The touch. One simple contact with another person unlocks visions, fragments of their past, their present, and terrifying flashes of their future. At first, it feels like a curse wrapped in confusion. Then it becomes something far more dangerous. A truth no one wants to hear. Johnny sees disasters before they happen. He sees deaths before they arrive. And worst of all, he sees a political future that could change the fate of thousands. Now he faces an impossible choice: stay silent and live in peace, or act on what he knows and risk becoming a villain in the eyes of the world. Because what happens when the only way to stop a catastrophe is to interfere with destiny itself? As his visions grow stronger, so does the pressure. Every decision pulls him deeper into a moral abyss where saving lives might mean sacrificing his own humanity. And the scariest question of all emerges. If you could see the future, would you change it, or fear what you might become by trying? The Dead Zone isn't just a movie. It's a psychological trap that keeps tightening until the final moment, forcing you to question fate, power, and the cost of knowing too much. This is exactly why YouTube's latest collection of 12 brilliant mind-bending movies is trending, because stories like this don't just entertain, They stay in your mind long after the screen goes dark. 3. Self/Less 2015. The price of immortality. What if you could cheat death, but at a cost you never imagined? That's the chilling question at the heart of Self/Less, one of the most mind-bending films now gaining fresh attention after YouTube's latest wave of curated cinematic drops. The story begins with Damien Hale, a powerful billionaire who has everything: money, influence, and control over life itself, except time. When cancer brings him to the edge of death, he is offered a radical, top-secret procedure by a mysterious organization led by Dr. Albright. His consciousness will be transferred into a young, healthy body. Damien agrees. He dies and is reborn. Now living in a strong, youthful body, he experiences luxury, freedom, and a second chance at life. At first, it feels like a miracle, like science has finally defeated death itself. But perfection never lasts. Soon, disturbing visions begin to haunt him. Flashes of a life he never lived. Memories that don't belong to him. And a growing sense that the body he now inhabits wasn't empty, it was taken. As Damien digs deeper, he uncovers a horrifying truth. The organization didn't create life, they stole it. The donor body he now controls belonged to a real man with a real past, and enemies who are still very much alive. What follows is a psychological spiral of identity, morality, and survival. Damien is forced into a deadly chase where he is both hunter and hunted, trying to protect the innocent while escaping the very system that gave him a second life. The deeper he goes, the more he realizes the ultimate question isn't whether you can live forever. It's whether you should. With intense action, emotional depth, and a gripping sci-fi twist, Self/Less stands as a powerful reminder that immortality may come at the cost of your soul. And by the end, one truth hits hard. You don't just borrow a body, you inherit its consequences. 2. Dark City, 1998. The city that never wakes. And never was. Imagine waking up in a place where nothing feels real, not the sky, not the people, not even your own memories. That is exactly where Dark City drops you. One moment, you are a man accused of murder, confused, terrified, and hunted. The next moment, you discover something far more disturbing. The entire city around you is being altered while you sleep. Buildings shift. Streets rearrange. People's identities are rewritten like lines in a script. And at the center of it all are mysterious beings known only as the Strangers, pale, silent figures who control reality itself with a single thought. You think you understand the story until the city literally stops rotating. And that's when everything you believed about reality completely collapses. What makes Dark City so powerful isn't just its mystery, it's the idea that your memories might not belong to you. That your life, your past, even your identity could be artificially designed, tested, edited. Every twist pulls you deeper into a question the film refuses to answer easily. If your memories are fake, are you still you? As the truth slowly unfolds, the city becomes more than a setting. It becomes a living experiment. A trapped society where one man's awakening could break the entire system wide open. Visually hypnotic, psychologically intense, and packed with reality-bending revelations, Dark City feels less like a movie and more like a dream you can't escape from. And once you reach the final act, you'll realize the biggest mystery was never the city. It was reality itself. 1. Coherence, 2013. The night reality broke apart. On a quiet suburban evening, a group of friends gathers for what should have been a simple dinner party. Laughter, wine, and casual conversation under the soft glow of a passing comet. But in Coherence, nothing stays simple for long. As the comet streaks across the sky, something invisible fractures reality itself. Phones begin to glitch, strange events unfold outside the house, and soon the group realizes a terrifying truth: they are no longer alone with themselves. What starts as awkward confusion quickly spirals into psychological chaos. Every knock at the door, Every shadow outside, every familiar face becomes a question mark. Because in this fractured night, alternate versions of each guest begin to appear, slightly different, slightly darker, and carrying choices they never made. Trust collapses. Friendships fracture. And survival depends on one terrifying decision. Which version of reality is the real one, and which version of you can be trusted? As paranoia takes over, coherence transforms into a gripping mind game where logic is useless and identity becomes fluid. The brilliance of the film lies in its simplicity. No massive CGI, no complex exposition, just pure tension, intelligent writing, and the unsettling idea that one small cosmic event could split your life into infinite versions. By the end, you're left questioning not just the characters, but your own reality. This is not just a movie, it's a mental experiment. And once you watch it, you'll never look at choices, coincidence, or even yourself the same way again. And that's a wrap on today's journey through YouTube just added 12 brilliant mind-bending movies. From reality-shattering twists to stories that challenge everything you think you know, these films prove one thing. Cinema isn't just about watching, it's about questioning. If even one of these movies messed with your mind, then you've experienced exactly what Globewise TV is all about, stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to Globewise TV if you haven't already. We bring you the most unique, underrated, and thought-provoking movies from around the world, straight to your screen. Now it's your turn. Which movie blew your mind the most? Drop your favorite in the comment box below. Thanks for watching, stay curious, stay cinematic, and we'll see you in the next mind-bending journey.